Your sweet newborn is home and you're learning all about each other. You're soaking up all those newborn snuggles and getting into a good feeding rhythm. When all of a sudden you notice that they start spitting up more milk, and now it's happening every day and all over your clothes and their clothes. And worse, they're getting uncomfortable because of it. Is it a cause for concern? When is intervention needed? Let's talk about Spit-Up and GERD. This video will be part 1 where we chat about what Spit-Up and GERD is, why it happens, when you need to see a clinician, including some major red flags. A second part will be coming soon, going over non-medicated and medicated management, so make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss it. One of the most important places to start are definitions and to explain what is typical for development and what is not. With physiological spit-up, babies are often called happy spitters or gastroesophageal reflux or GERD. This is because with physiological spit-up, infants are feeding well, gaining weight well, and aren't overly bothered by the spit-up. Their body is relaxed with feeds, and even if they spit up, they're happily gaining weight and not bothered by the spit-up. It's just a laundry mess for you. And this was my son. Often with happy spitters, the parents are more bothered by the spit-up than the baby. It can be frustrating to have to change their outfit frequently or pick up your baby, and the moment you move them around, there's milk all over your clothes or yourself. Also, some parents report stress over worrying about how much milk the baby actually kept down. I do want to reassure you that when spit-up ends up on clothes, it can look much larger than the actual amount. Watch me pour half an ounce of liquid onto this onesie. It looks like a lot, or even 1 ounce. It can often cover most of the front. But typically babies with spit up like this are still keeping down plenty of milk, and you can always monitor their wet diapers to make sure their input is adequate. With GERD, symptoms improve as the digestive tract matures, they have better head control, and as solid foods are introduced. Okay, so that's physiological reflux. Now what's GERD? GERD is gastroesophageal reflux disease and is spitting up with discomfort or other symptoms. They are not happy. GERD is also when the contents of the stomach are pushed up the esophagus, but with GERD, the combination of the force of this and the amount of spit up can lead to increased acid production and irritation as well as discomfort. Babies with GERD may spit up immediately after feeds or in between feeds or seem uncomfortable during spit-up episodes. Because of the discomfort associated with the reflux, some babies will arch their back or be harder to console after feeds. They also may frequently cough, even when they are healthy and not sick, or they can have poor weight gain. Sometimes it can be hard to differentiate between the two because GERD can start as physiological spit-up and symptoms can slowly or quickly progress. So it's important to seek medical attention if your happy spitter is now becoming uncomfortable or losing weight. Take a look at this chart on when to know when it's time to escalate care with your baby having GERD. As a reminder, colic is its own diagnosis, but babies with GERD can potentially overlap with what parents feel are colic symptoms. Milk protein allergy is also its own diagnosis, but symptoms can overlap. For more on colic, watch this video and stay tuned for a separate video on cow's milk protein allergy. I do believe GERD is often overdiagnosed and treated with medications when it could be a milk protein allergy or colic alone. And so stay tuned as I go through things to consider before we trial meds. There are many reasons, but a few include a small stomach and a weak sphincter. Spit-up or physiological reflux is the passage of stomach contents into the esophagus and potentially out of the mouth, and is a common process that occurs in many healthy infants. Normally, a ring of muscle between the esophagus and stomach called the lower esophageal sphincter tightens when food enters the stomach and keeps stomach contents contained in the stomach. This muscle is immature in many infants, which leads to spit-up. So milk, because it's thin, can come up more, especially with sudden movements. Another reason is swallowing too much milk and or air. Typically, babies spit up after they gulp down some air with breast milk or formula. A baby's stomach is small and can't hold a lot. Too much milk and even air mixed with milk can cause more spit up. So things like a poor latch on a nipple or a bottle or a tongue tie can increase this risk. Babies with torticollis or a tight muscle in the neck can also have an increased risk of GERD. When the neck muscles become contracted due to torticollis, this can lead to reflux in some babies. And also, if the baby is so upset from their acid production in GERD, their muscles can tense up, making torticollis worse. So it's a vicious cycle. Hence why I love to address torticollis for this reason, including because it can also impact head shape. More on that in this video. Along these lines, anything that can cause more gas in the belly of a baby can increase chances of spit up, which is why sometimes we can see gassy babies and reflux together. About 50% of infants will be affected by spit up in the first few months of life. GERD usually begins at approximately 2 to 3 weeks of life and peaks between 4 to 5 months. Most babies who are born at full term will have complete resolution of symptoms by the time they are 9 to 12 months old at the latest. Clinically, I see the hardest time frame around 6 weeks to 4 months. When a baby starts moving and starts solids, it can improve as the sphincter improves and they're also more upright. But it can peak at 9 months and then subsequently improve by 12 months, like I mentioned. To be quite honest, one of the biggest ways this gets better is time. And this may be hard to hear, but it's true. But just because it needs time to completely go away doesn't mean that we can't do anything to make baby more comfortable and manage this as it improves on its own. So stay tuned for more management strategies. Before we get into management strategies in the next video, remember that you really should be getting guidance from your child's clinician to determine what the cause may be to find the best management. It's best to bring your child in to see their clinician for the following reasons if they have spit up. You're concerned about your child's weight gain. You're concerned with how they feed. They're tense, they cry at the sight of the bottle or nipple, they gulp, etc. They are irritable around feeding times, whether it's at the site of the bottle or breast, or after they spit up. They have blood in their stool. Blood in the stool, along with symptoms like reflux, can be a sign of a milk protein allergy. Mucus in the stool is not always a cause for concern, but if you see mucus in their stool and you're worried about slow weight gain, it's also best to bring them in. Finally, if they are spitting up and arching their back after feeds, or pulling away or seeming uncomfortable during feeds, or are excessively coughing or gagging related to feeds, discuss this with their clinician. Your clinician will be able to guide you on the next steps for your infant. Other red flags include making sure that it's reflux and not projectile vomiting. If your child is projectile vomiting, think forceful across the room, or vomiting is happening constantly despite being only around feeding times. It's important to make sure that we evaluate this to make sure that it's not a rare condition that we see between 2 weeks and 2 months called pyloric stenosis. In these situations, baby projectile vomits and is ravenous right after, a hungry vomiter. If this is happening, go see your clinician to discuss. Another red flag is any green color or bile color vomit, or of course your child feels unwell or is dehydrated. So we set the stage here. What is spit up versus GERD? Why this is important to distinguish, why it happens, and when to see a clinician. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for a video coming soon on management, which includes lifestyle modifications and medicated options, including how I approach infant reflux. I'll see you all next time for another video here on PedsDocTalk TV. Stay well.